Welcome to Wasatch Weekends for our special Saturday edition. It is August 9th and I'm your host, Ben Roof. On today's show, we've got Nuzzles Co stopping by to show us their adoptable pet of the week. And then Whole Essentials Nutrition is going to give us a couple of great back-to-school recipes for the kids. And Jen Lewis, a local general contractor and nonprofit director, stops by with a small town story. But first, a quick local announcement. Today, from 3 to 6 p.m. is going to be the Monster Drawing Rally at the Kimball Arts Center. And this is a fundraiser that's going for both the Art Council of Park City and Summit County, as well as the Kimball Arts Center. For about 50 minutes, artists are going to live draw various artworks of various monsters, and those art pieces are going to be available for purchase immediately after the event for $50. Tickets are $0 in advance, but $25 at the door, so make sure to go over there and check it out. Now, let's take a quick look at the local weather before we get on with the rest of the show.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to the show. One of the things we love to talk about here is adoptable dogs, and Gretchen had the opportunity to sit down with Nuzzles Co and talk about an adorable young pup who's up for adoption.
Welcome back to the show. One of my favorite times of day is to get to talk and see all the puppies, talk all things puppies and dogs. I'm here with McKenna Buchanan of Nuzzles Co, and we have a very special little lady with us as well. How are you doing?
I am doing great. This is Prudence right here.
Prudence.
She's 20 weeks old.
She is beautiful. McKenna, what kind of dog is that?
So she is actually a total mixed breed. She came from Kayenta, Arizona, off of the Navajo reservation down there.
Okay.
She was a stray with a litter of puppies.
Oh.
And she's the last of her litter. She came just a little bit sick, so we had to get her all healed up and get a tummy ichness gone away. But she is ready to go. She's got a clean bill of health, and the vet says she's ready for a forever home now. So
Oh my gosh.
her way, and she is just loving all the
She's like a
attention.
little wiggle worm. She loves you. McKenna, I don't know. I think there's a vibe there. I think maybe this should be your third dog.
Oh no.
She is
No, I
so...
can't keep all the dogs here. I'd have way too many.
I know, that's where I'm at, McKenna. I'm so in love with dogs. I say I have two, well, my fur babies. And I'm like, if I won the lottery, I would just have a lot of land and all the rescues, all the dogs. Kind of my dream.
Oh yeah, we say that here all the time. It's just like we have just a little bit more land, more funds. If we just we're millionaires, we would definitely just have
Yes.
all the dogs and just.
So McKenna, when people are excited, not even, because I know people are going to be stoked about her, how can they go and see her and see if it's a good fit for their home?
Yeah, so a lot of our dogs go to our adoption center in Kimball Junction every single day. I'm gonna distract her with some treats right now. But so there's a adoption center. It's open noon to 5 every single day, and we bring our dogs there to get more exposure. And then at night we bring them back to our ranch. So they have a bigger place. We have big play yards for them and walking paths all along our 100-acre property out here. So they have a lot of room out here. But then a good way to see them is to go to our adoption center in Kimball Junction. And that's where a lot of our puppies do their meet and greets. And if you have another dog, you can bring them by and see how they do with her. And see the dynamic of everything. Yep.
That is so exciting. And how many dogs do you get? Like maybe, I know this is a loaded question, but per month, per week, do you have kind of like a normal influx of dogs?
Yeah, so actually we just got some statistics. So I actually
Oh,
do have
yes. Okay.
so last month we had 81 intakes and
Wow.
103 adoptions.
How many?
More adoptions than intakes, which is really, really good news. We love that.
Yeah.
103 adoptions.
103. Oh, that makes me emotional. It makes my heart really happy because during COVID, I know so many people adopted dogs and it made me so excited. And then people were saying after COVID, the adoption numbers went down. I don't see that at all. I think it's still pretty up there. Oh, she is so cute.
She is definitely playing a lot with this bone here in my office. She's loving it.
I feel like we might have to get her as a station dog. McKenna, she is made for TV.
Yeah, she's definitely got quite the character in her.
Oh,
She's
I love it.
doing super good with her leash training and
Good.
using puppy pads super well. Yeah.
McKenna, how big do you think she'll get?
So we think she's gonna be like a medium-sized dog,
Okay.
around 40-ish pounds.
Right on. She is so cute. I literally could this is how much I love her. I could just watch her all day, just watch her do her thing.
There we go. We're working on her commands, so she just did her sit pretty well for us.
Right. Oh, so that's something that you do with the dogs as well. You train them even before.
We do. We work with them as much as we can. With
Okay.
50 or so dogs at a time, it's really hard to dedicate enough time to really get them fully trained.
Right.
Try to work with them as often as we can and as much as we can to get them leash trained with their basic commands and
Right.
just manners as well.
McKenna, how did you get into Nuzzles Co? How did you get started? I'm assuming, just from meeting you, that you were probably in love with dogs all along, even as a little girl.
Oh yeah, I've always been an anti-depressant. That could be so good.
I think it's awesome.
She wants to be the doctor. She's gonna tell her story.
I know. I'm like, well, let's talk to her. Look at her. She is ready to go.
She is being absolutely adorable.
Maybe she should be the Nuzzles Co mascot. I don't know. She's pretty cool.
She's awesome. We love her here. One of the girls here was her foster for a little bit, and
Oh,
has
okay.
like her whole time. She's like, I need to get Prudence adopted because she's the best dog ever.
Right. Yes. So I had a question because you said Prudence. How do you come up with the names for the dogs? Because I know when I have Bolly and Gypsy, my rescue dogs, the name was a big moment. I mean, it was just like naming a child.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that?
So our naming is very fun. We
Yeah.
get lots of different themes and everything. So Prudence actually came from a litter of P names.
Oh, okay.
All of the dogs of that litter were named after names that began with the letter P. So we have Prudence, we had Persimmon, we had Parley. We just had
so
like
cool.
dogs from that litter, and they were all so adorable. But yeah, so she took a little bit longer to adopt out because we had to put her in quarantine and
Okay.
get her ichnos all cleared up. But yep, she's now ready to go and has a clean bill of health.
That's amazing. So McKenna, Prudence is ready to go. Do you think when people are excited about seeing her, can they just go online and set up? How do we go about doing the adoption process?
So you can give us a call or send us an email at adopt@nuzzlesco.org.
Okay.
That is the best way to get in contact with us and figure out where she might be, because some days she's at the adoption center and some days she's at the ranch.
Right.
But just give us a call and we'll be able to tell you where she is. The adoption center and ranch are only 15 minutes apart.
Okay.
And so even if she is at the ranch and you just do a walk-in,
Cool.
you can easily go by and see her at any time.
And McKenna, I know like when adopting, it's such a sensitive thing. I mean, it really is. You might see a dog that you think you'll vibe with and then get there and maybe it isn't the best connection. Do you kind of really look at that, the vibe of the human and the dog? Is that something you take pretty seriously?
Yes, we definitely try to match the dog with the human. So we're not going to put a super energetic
Yeah.
puppy with someone who's like 80 years old and
Right.
might not even take them on walks, kind of a thing.
Okay.
Where you have like a really full schedule and work 14 hours a day.
Right.
Puppy who can't hold their bladder very long is not the best. We do try to put those things into consideration when doing the adoption process.
Okay.
First. And
then
then we also encourage foster to adopt programs. You can see how
cool.
in homes and take them for a few days just to see how they work in your home.
Okay, so I love that, because that's my second question. If you do have another dog, like you and I both have 2 dogs, would you rather do the foster to adoption, have people come in and see that way, or are they allowed to bring their other dog in to see how that does with the potential adoptee?
So we encourage doing both.
Okay.
So putting them in for a meet and greet is always good to see.
So cute.
Doing the meet and greet is always good to see their initial reaction, but then sometimes dogs get a little bit more weird in the home with a new animal.
Okay.
Out of the home. So we do encourage the foster to adopt and doing a meet and greet as well, just so you know for sure that it's a good fit.
Awesome. And McKenna, where are you guys located?
So we are in Park City. So our rescue ranch is in Peoa, just 15 minutes outside of Park City. And then the adoption center, like I said, is in the Kimball Junction outlets.
Awesome. McKenna, you're so rad, and you've handled this so well, and we love Prudence as well.
Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and get to show off some of our pets.
Awesome. I can't wait to come visit you. I want to see all the dogs. I'm just going to be sitting there so happy.
Definitely. You're welcome anytime. We'd be happy to have you.
Thanks, McKenna. You're amazing. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And you guys have a wonderful day.
You as well. And bye, Prudence. Have fun. Oh, I love it. She's so cute. Well, that was amazing. We always love dogs, and we have more to come, so keep it right here for more of the show.
Welcome back to the show. With the kids back in school, time can definitely be a premium, especially in the evenings after activities. And Emily Davis from Whole Essentials Nutrition stopped by to give us some advice on how to create some great meals that don't take as much time to get ready for those back to school nights.
Welcome back. Right now I'm here with Emily Davis of Whole Essentials Nutrition. She's got a great recipe for us for back to school, for those busy nights. Emily, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to share this with you. Like you said, it's back to school, and so I came up with a couple of different recipes, a quick and easy family dinner that can be then turned into an easy school lunch for the kids.
What more could we want, especially since everything you make is healthy and simple. In fact, you are a holistic nutritionist. Tell me about that.
Yes, so holistic meaning kind of whole body. I can't just think of like the food, even though that's my my passion, my focus, but I have to think of all the other parts of someone's health and wellness when I counsel with people. So yeah, I mean, this is what I love to do, to share recipes and to show people how quick and easy it can be. You mentioned like healthy. These are gluten-free, dairy-free recipes. And I'll go over some of the things that maybe if someone is allergic to eggs, there are eggs in this recipe, but you could make a substitution for that too. So yeah.
So let's dig
Easy.
right in. What do you have for us?
So the easy, quick family dinner is a chicken Caesar salad. Caesar-esque, because I'm adding some vegetables to it. So I've got romaine here, I'm adding some kale, we're gonna make a Caesar dressing, I'm adding some pepita seeds, those are pumpkin seeds if you've never had those before, and then some tomato. I have pre-cooked the chicken, we didn't really have time for that, but this is so quick and easy too. So I did this in an Instant Pot, 8 minutes. If they're fresh chicken, 10 to 12. If it's frozen chicken, if you've got something in the freezer to throw in. If you had a slow cooker, that would be great too. Just put it in the morning of, come home, it's done. Or do this the night before. I mean, don't overcomplicate things.
Do you add anything to it when you put it in the crock pot or the Instapot? Do you add chicken broth or water or seasonings?
This time I did, but you don't have to. Really, it's just the water underneath, a little bit of salt. This time I added a little bit of veggie broth. but you don't need to. Because we're gonna add the dressing to it, it's gonna be flavorful, so in this case you don't need to.
One less thing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna jump in and show you the dressing. I am making the Caesar dressing myself. I make all of my salad dressings and sauces, marinades myself because there just are so many added ingredients in the things that you find in the store. So for those reasons, we're doing it ourselves.
But those are the hardest, at least for me, to make. I don't know why I'm
Yeah.
so intimidated by creating these dressings and such, because
I mean, I think it can be intimidating, but like hopefully you'll see like this is easy. So I think I've got the ingredients to display on the screen for you. I'm using olive oil, apple cider vinegar. The Caesar dressing is not Caesar without some fish sauce, salt, pepper. I'm adding some ghee, which is clarified butter, mustard powder, garlic, and egg. So there's a couple more ingredients in something like this, but most dressings that I do are maybe 3 or 4 ingredients. It really is pretty simple.
and this really is a healthier option than buying the store-bought kind.
Yes, yes. The dressings that you find in the store, they're, if you need to be gluten-free, oftentimes there are ingredients in there that contain gluten. There's preservatives, there's added sugar, there's added salt, there's all sorts of additives. Yeah, I don't want that in my body.
But
So
if you are in a rush, you could pick that up and
Absolutely.
put it together even quicker.
Absolutely. You're looking for whole ingredients, you know? So again, like trying to look for the salad dressing that doesn't have those added sugars and salts and preservatives as much as possible. So, a couple of eggs, a couple of garlic cloves. I'm putting all of these things in the blender with the avocado oil last because we're going to emulsify it. So, a little bit
Do
of
you
salt.
need a blender for this in particular? Can you mix it up on your own, or does it really need to have the blending power?
Yes, it does, because we're going to emulsify. Good question. But you don't necessarily need something like this. If you had a handheld or immersion blender, that would be just as good. And those are, you know, $30. So yes, you do need a blender. I just need about a half a teaspoon of each of the salt and pepper. I guesstimate. You'll kind of see.
I do that as well, but not as good as you do it, I'm sure.
But I will measure just to show you I can. So apple cider vinegar goes next. We just need about a tablespoon of that. We're going to juice a lemon.
Of course, a fresh lemon is preferred.
Fresh lemon. So again, if you buy the lemon juice that's like already been juiced, or the lime, it's got preservatives in it. And it takes away from the nutritional value. So as much as possible,
And I think
using
it's more
fresh.
flavorful when you use the fresh.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're going to get a lot more flavor, a lot more nutrition.
I was having a conversation with my son who loves to cook, and maybe you can answer this for me. Do you keep your lemons in the fridge or on the counter?
I keep mine in the fridge, but if I were using them quickly, the countertop would be fine. But what did he say?
He said countertop. I was a fridge person, so we were having this debate. He said it affects the flavor if you put it in the fridge, which I hadn't heard before.
It can. I'm one person at home, so I don't always go through my produce as quickly as I need to, so I put it in the fridge. And this is going to be, so I'm adding mustard powder. This is a new bottle.
Why do you think, as a holistic nutritionist, it can be so difficult for people when approaching a healthier lifestyle, when being told to make everything homemade is better? That feels so overwhelming. So how do you help people kind of get over that hump of, oh, I don't have time for this, or this is too much?
Good question. Really good question, because I mean, it's something that I feel like I talk at length about with my private clients. What I would say is like choose one thing at a time. Choose something that you feel like you either want to improve, whether that be breakfast or like taking soda out of your diet, right? Just one thing, one substitution, one meal. Start small, and then just build. Yep.
It's a good tip, but I really
Good
like my
question.
soda, so.
I hit on a favorite, huh?
You did, but that is true, to make it a little approachable, to start small, and
Yeah.
even those little steps I think can help you get some confidence and feel like you can make this work.
Absolutely. I mean, it really, I've found it's the only way. I mean, there are some people who come to me and they're sort of the black and white, all in sort of people, like, all right, I'm going to go home and clean out my pantry tomorrow. That doesn't usually work. It doesn't usually work. So
It's nice to work with that motivation, but you're right, it can.
it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it can go away quickly for sure. So you're just mixing that all in.
I'm mixing all of those things, like I said, other than the avocado oil. That's going to go last. So we'll mix this. And then it's about a cup of the avocado oil that I'm adding a little bit at a time.
I think as you mix that up, we'll take a quick break and come back to finish up this recipe. And then
Perfect.
also to have the next option, which is going to be making it as a packed lunch as well. So this is a 2-in-1 recipe. So hang tight, we'll be back right after this.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to the show. Emily Davis with Whole Essentials Nutrition has been giving us some tips and tricks on how to create some delicious evening meals for the school year. Let's see how she's doing.
We are back with Emily Davis from Whole Essentials Nutrition, continuing this yummy, delicious, healthy recipe, easy for weeknight dinners, and you can make a lunch out of it the next day. So what do we do next?
So we've got the dressing. All you're going to do is chop up some greens, and I've got romaine and kale with me today. You could use something else besides the kale, but give it a try too if you've never used it before. It's really, really nutritious.
And I think mixing it with the lettuce also kind of helps with that heaviness and weight if you're
I think
not
so
sure
too.
about it, maybe.
I think so too. Yep. The other thing about like cooking for families and cooking for kids, I hear this all the time. My kids are picky. They won't eat that. I can't do that. They need to be. You need to sort of create the expectation that they're going to see new foods on the dinner table, and without pressuring them into trying things. Just you have them there for them to eat and try. You're eating it too. It just creates the expectation that they're gonna see new things.
I think that's an excellent way to approach that. Just, you're going to see new things, get ready for it, instead of, this is what we're having for dinner, so either
Yeah.
eat it or not.
Yeah,
But I
I
like
mean-
that approach. It's very, I think, a little bit easier for kids to be like, oh, cool, something new, instead of, I'm
Absolutely.
not eating that.
And I think another tip I would say for kids in introducing new things is if there's a way to, like, we could take this meal apart and maybe you let them choose 3 out of the 5 foods. Again, like, no pressure. You don't want to, I come from a time where it was like clean your plate sort of mentality. That's not what we want to encourage. We want them to have some control over it. And so if, like I say, if there's something that you can pick apart or present 5 things and let them choose, then they feel a lot more comfortable choosing those new things.
I think even my teenagers would like that, honestly.
I think so too.
Give them some choice. They like choice.
We all do.
So you're just going to quickly chop this up.
Yeah, so you
and
saw me,
assemble.
yeah, like the kale, if you've never used it before, you saw me just kind of take it off the rib. And I'm just doing a quick chop, and that's probably enough for what we're doing right now. And then all I'm really adding is tomatoes and pepitas, I mentioned. And so these are cherry tomatoes. Right now, this is a great time to incorporate tomato because they're, at least where we are, they're local and seasonal and fresh.
Adds that nice pop of color, but it already looks very healthy, very hearty. And it's the dressing, I have to say, smells delicious. The spices in there
We're gonna
came
add,
together well.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna add the dressing. You can do it a couple of different ways, but I'm gonna add the dressing to the chicken rather than like adding the chicken and then the dressing on top, just because we're gonna use it for wraps the next day. So I do want to incorporate it.
Oh, so that way it's a little more mixed in than
Yeah.
having the drippy dressing in the wrap.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add the dressing. Not sure if that you can see, but what I was going for was sort of that thick emulsified.
Oh, it thickened up really well,
Yeah.
which is why you need the blender.
You
I
do
can
need
see
the
it now.
blender for this one. So let's start with this and just kind of mix it in.
That way you get the dressing, the flavor, but not the mess.
Exactly. And I do think the flavor of the dressing does, you get a little bit more of it with the chicken. So I do like it this way. And that seems to be, everyone's a little bit different, but that looks about right to me as far as how much dressing I want with that. So for the dinner, I mean, this is all you're gonna do. Add the chicken to the greens. You can obviously do different vegetables if you wanted. Add vegetables to what I've shown you here.
It's a very adaptable recipe.
It really is this easy too.
Oh, that
So
looks delicious.
chicken Caesar salad for easy family meal. You've made a little bit of extra chicken for lunches the next day. So again, like don't overcomplicate things. Choose a dinner that you can then, use those same ingredients in lunch. That's ideal. Oh, I forgot our pepitas. Pepitas if you've never had them.
I
Pumpkin
love that. So
seeds.
instead of the croutons, you're adding the pepitas.
Yeah, and you could do sunflower seeds. I just wanted to do pepitas. So there's that.
So there's your dinner, done and done.
There's dinner. Like I
Healthy.
said, like you can expand and add things to it if that doesn't feel like a meal, but
It looks like a meal to me.
it would be enough for me.
Oh, absolutely.
So then all we're gonna do for lunch, while this is warming up, I'll tell you a little bit about why I chose this. So good, better, best. This is a cassava flour tortilla, so gluten-free, grain-free. It's a little pricey, right? I think this was maybe $8 at the store that I got. Mission Tortilla brand has some grain-free cauliflower and almond, if I remember right. I like the ingredients in this better. So whole ingredients, coconut oil, apple cider vinegar, cassava flour, xanthan gum for a binder, but very minimal ingredients and, like I say, grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free.
Which is so important for many people with
Yeah.
allergies, but it's also healthier.
It is. And so I did choose this over some of the Mission brand because there were so many more additives and preservatives in those, even it being a healthier option. So, decide what's important to you. I don't use tortillas very often, to be honest. But I think it's a great thing for school lunches. So I think every now and again a tortilla is fine.
Good, better, best. That's
Good, better, best. Yep. Not saying that this is the standard you have to keep, but I do like this for all of those reasons.
Is this something you would assemble the night before, day of? What is best?
I think this would hold up the night before. So you're seeing me, like, this particular brand just needs to be warmed 15 seconds each side, that's all. So you could warm it the night before while you're doing dinner. The only thing that I would do, similar to the salad, right? Like I would add some of those tomatoes to the chicken mixture while we're kind of waiting. So you didn't buy any extra ingredients other than the tortilla.
So you're just going to add the chicken to the tortilla and the tomatoes, and are you
Wrap
going to
it
throw
up.
any lettuce in there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I would. Again, like even if you think your kid's not going to eat it, I would put it there.
Just in case.
Just in case. So, I mean, I'm going to assemble it kind of like this. Like I would lay the lettuce leaf down. I'm going to add, like I said, these tomatoes while we're kind of waiting for it to warm. But that's all I'm going to do. And then I've got this little bento box over here, however you pack your lunches. Add some more veggies. This is just sort of what I had on hand. But right, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. If you've got some
not at
fruit, if you've
all.
got some veggies, throw those in.
So you just quickly assemble it, stick it in the box,
You got it.
and lunch is done.
I mean, that's all you need. 10, 15 seconds, we're done. So I'm gonna bring it back over here. Lettuce.
And great, even for lunches at work, a lunch at your desk.
I mean, yeah, I mean, this works equally well for adults as well as kids. Same rules apply.
And if you have an anti-vegetable kid, you can always just leave the vegetables out,
You
wrap it up in the
could.
tortilla, and they still have a healthy option for
You
lunch.
could, and again, I mean, get them used to seeing new things. But it can be that easy.
That's beautiful. Look at that. I love it. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
Great ideas. How can we get more information about you and everything that you do?
So I think the best place is probably to go to my website, so wholeessentialsnutrition.com.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thanks again for being here today. Excited
you.
to dig in and eat, and what a great suggestion, especially during this busy time of year.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the show. Jen Lewis is a local contractor and the director of a local nonprofit, and she sat down with the Park City Chamber of Commerce for a small town story. Let's take a look.
Hey everyone, right now we are joined by Jen Lewis for our Small Town Stories this week, presented by the Park City Chamber. Jen, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We are so happy to have you, and we just, before we turned on the cameras, you were telling me that you do a whole bunch of different stuff. It's not just one basic thing. Sometimes we talk to people here and they just do one or two different things, but you do a whole lot of different things. Can you just tell the audience a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Mobile notary. So I do loan signings around Park City, a little bit of notaries, things here and there. I am a general contractor. I own 2 construction companies in Park City that I do residential renovations. But my true passion is my charitable foundation. It's called the Jen Love Project, where I do a lot of local projects around town that probably nobody has heard of or known about. Hopefully one day that will change. But yeah, those are the things that I do on a daily basis. But like I said, my passion is being a humanitarian.
So what are some of those projects that you typically work on for your foundation?
So we've done like blood drives, we've done toy drives, clothing drives. We've bought coffee for teachers, like Appreciation for Teachers Week. We're in the process of trying to do appreciation coffee for the essential workers at the hospital. We've raised money for Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the People's Choice Clinic. We do turkey drives. We've partnered with Shop with a Cop every year to help those less fortunate families and children, be able to have a Christmas, along with many other things that I haven't, listed here.
That's unbelievable. I'm sure with the holidays coming up in just the next couple of weeks here, I'm sure you're very busy working and organizing and coordinating those types of things.
Yeah. We've partnering up with Mario Ferreira with the Turkey Drive. We'll do Shop with the Cop in December along with the Toy Drive. And then also doing some hygiene bags for the homeless shelters. And then another food drive as well to deliver to the YMCA for the women shelters as well.
What would you say makes that the most passionate part of your career? You do other things, and we're going to get into the contracting as well, but what do you think is so important about your foundation? What makes that the most passionate, most important thing that you do?
I want to be able to plant a seed for next generations. You know, like I've been asked, what will your legacy be? And it's to show kindness and compassion and empathy for those that are in need. And I want my children to have that, and I want my grandchildren to have that. My grandma and my grandfather and my mother were huge advocates for charity work. I remember my mom cleaning houses for women that had breast cancer, and so they couldn't cook, they couldn't clean, they couldn't wash their clothes. So she and I and my sisters would go to these houses and help these women. And just to see my mom, like, to do this without effort, to do this without like any position where what do I get back, it was amazing. Like, she just gave without question. And just growing up in that household and growing up in the family that I had really kind of branded that in my soul. And I mean, that's just who I am. I don't know how to describe me other than I am a humanitarian.
How long have you been at this humanitarian work, and specifically your own foundation?
The foundation is actually pretty new, but the charity work I've been doing since I was probably about 11 years old.
Wow, so you've been at this for a very long time.
Yeah.
A lifelong full of
Absolutely.
Giving back and things like that. Really quick, and again, I promise we'll get into the contracting stuff as well, but this is so fascinating to me. How can people get involved? How can people help your charity, your foundation, and things like that?
Well, so that's a good question, because it's hard as a smaller foundation to kind of get out there. There's so many foundations here in Park City. There's so many great causes, people that are giving attention to. But there are a lot of things that I'm concerned about. Like, you've got larger charitable foundations that are kind of getting, most of the donated dollars from the community and from the public and from the government or whatever, and grants and things like that. And as a smaller foundation, I feel like I'm not taken as seriously because I am new and maybe I don't have the portfolio that they have. It's hard for me to get it out there. I know that I've talked to Meredith, who has Town Lift. I've put my stuff on my website, I put my stuff on my Instagram, but I think a lot of people get discouraged because there are a lot of people out there that are taking money and they're not giving it to the cause that they're supposed to, and so they're kind of scared that if it's not, a big kind of a company, then it's not legit. But I am a 501c3. I am a legit charitable foundation. I hope people research me and go to my website and know that I'm real and that I do actually help the community.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I hope that things continue to build up for you in this foundation, because it seems like, seriously, a lifelong full of charity work and things like that. I think there's no doubt about it that people will want to have some sort of help in this cause that you do. Let's jump over a little bit to the other side of what you do. Contracting, owning 2 businesses, working on home renovations and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into that?
Oh, wow, that kind of just fell in my lap. That wasn't an intentional career move whatsoever. I lived in Ogden for many years. I met a guy, he lived in Park City. I followed him here. And it was super interesting because I got a job at a larger construction company and worked for them for about 10 years. And then there was a point in our career where a good friend of mine had actually passed away from cancer. And we had to jump into a position where it was like either we move over to another career or we continue in the career that we were in and continue the renovations that we were already working on. So I had to, with his passing, I had to jump and actually get a general contractor's license. So it wasn't like I wanted it. It wasn't like I, had a desire to do renovations. I was just an operations manager at another construction company but my partner at the time, like we were kind of in a money desperate moment of how can we continue making money if he's not around.
And so all these years later, I mean, you mentioned that this isn't necessarily what you wanted to do. Have you found that this is something that you were supposed to do, something that you were grateful that you now have the opportunity to do as a full-time job?
You know, I actually love the befores and afters, right? Like going in and doing the design and changing the look of this room, you know, beyond the possibilities of what the owner thought could even happen. I do enjoy the work. I love working with my subs. I love working with my project manager. It is fascinating to me how you can literally make a house look so different. So I do love the befores and afters. It's actually pretty adventurous, right?
What would you say brought that passion? What would you say brought you your love for seeing change and renovations be done?
Well, I believe, being a African Native American, I was raised to respect land, and I don't do new builds, right? I'll do a small portion of my work, or might be additions, but I focus on what is already built and existing, and just try to, you know, create that into your lifestyle that you're looking for now, and not continue to dig and to create or disturb natural habitat for animals and creatures that are living out there. I don't think it's necessary, but that, like I said, that is how I was raised, was just to respect the land and not to just pluck because you want to pluck, but pluck when necessary.
So you talked a little bit about you coming here to Park City. I just kind of wanted to ask you about the city itself and the area that you live in and where you've been for the last 17 years or so.
Right.
What do you love about this town, and why have you decided to bring your businesses here, and why, or not bring them here, but stay here, I guess I should say?
Yeah, thrive and live here for sure. I love Park City. It's absolutely beautiful town. There's so much to do. I think the reason why I continue to stay is just because I love the smell of it in the winter, the wood burning, right? It's very, as a black woman and living in a predominantly white city, I do feel safe here. I feel like it's a community where people care about each other, and they do give out a hand to help other people. I have no reason to leave, right? I don't feel like it's a political state, or excuse me, not state, but city. I think that it really is, you know, love thy neighbor, and I enjoy that. When I move, I've recently moved back in July into an area in Pine Brook, and like all the neighbors just were like super helpful, and like I've never experienced that anywhere that I've ever lived, and it's just always been like Park City has always been very community driven, and that's who I am, right? I'm as a humanitarian, so I like living here.
Last question from me. For someone who would want to jump into a career similar to yours, or start up a charitable foundation like yours, what would you give what would be the number one advice you would give to someone looking into doing something like that?
Don't give up. You know, just keep going. It took me a while to get my charitable foundation and understanding everything, because there's certain things that you don't understand, and I had my tax attorney and my legal attorney working together to try and help me and get this nonprofit going, but just not giving up and not being distracted by the hurdles that you might have to go through, right? Like keep your eye on the prize, I guess is the old saying. But even as a woman in an industry, like male dominant industry such as construction, there are not a lot of women contractors here in Park City. There's only 3 of us, and I'm one with Lisa and Whitney, and you know, it is hard, it is difficult, but you can't give up. My mother used to tell me, like, you get knocked down, you gotta jump back up, right? Like you just continue to be driven and motivated, and I do a mantra every morning that says I'm enough, and that's what I think about every day is I'm enough to do this. So.
Well, Jen, I really appreciate the time.
Of course.
Incredible story, and thank you so much for sharing it with all of us. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. We're going to be right back here in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere.
This This weather report is brought to you by Sun & Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Thank you so much for tuning in to our special 1-hour Saturday edition of Wasatch Weekends. Don't forget to catch us tomorrow, where we're going to be talking a little bit about ancient aliens, and we're going to be checking in with a local realtor behind a lot of this Park City nonprofits. Until then, I'm your host, Ben Roof. This is Wasatch Weekends, and I will see you tomorrow.